Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the LTT Podcast. My name is Brendan Plays. This is the show where, of course, we answer all of your questions regarding the latest in WWE and wrestling in general, including sports as well as video games, music, TV, you name it. It is all covered here. You guys can also send in your questions to be answered on the show by leaving a comment in the comment section down below on the YouTube video with your question. Also, check out the Facebook page, Brendan Plays Official. Very, very close to 1,000 likes on the Facebook page. If you haven't already, please do it. Go ahead and check that out. Brendan Plays Official, facebook.com/Brendan Plays Official is the link you need to go to. Leave a like on the page, help us hit 1,000 likes. It'd be fantastic if we get there. But you can also leave a question there on the allocated thread. When I do remember, let's be honest, I do forget probably every second week. But when I do remember, you can leave one there. And also leaving a voicemail on the website, BrendanPlays.com. And on the forums, BrendanPlays.com/forums, which is absolutely 100% free to sign up to. And you can also go on the forums to chat about wrestling and even go on the live chat and talk about wrestling when the shows are actually on live. It's a lot of fun, especially for our upcoming weekend of wrestling. We have NXT TakeOver Brooklyn #2, which is going to be awesome, and we have SummerSlam as well. In fact, so what we got? Two hours of TakeOver, 4 hours of SummerSlam, 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, so 11 hours of live wrestling in the next coming days. Of course, NXT is after that as well. So there's plenty of wrestling coming up. It's a big week in wrestling. And it's going to be a big week this week on the show. There's a lot to talk about. We have a lot of bits and pieces of news going around, including Paige and Del Rio just being announced as they've been suspended for 30 days. Damien Sandows joined TNA. We're going to talk about that. Obviously, we are building up to SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver, so we're going to talk all about that and give my predictions on those two shows. We're going to get into all the latest that happened on Monday Night Raw and on SmackDown Live, and some even little rumblings, a little bit of news about TNA. Billy Corgan has taken over as TNA president, and yeah, lots of news. But we are going to open the show up today with the WWE 2K17 brand new features. Now, you guys know, myself and WWE 2K, we have a bit of a love-hate relationship, and I spend a lot of time all year round playing the game and recording, making videos for you guys just about every single day on the WWE 2K games, if not some of the past games from made from WWE. So I play a lot of these games. I have a big role to play, and even my voice in this community has a bit of a role to play as well. So I felt today I would give my full opinions on all the latest changes made to the game. So WWE 2K announced this week that they are going to be adding in 6 new changes to the game. So 6 changes that are going to overhaul some existing things, and 6 things that will make a big difference. And in addition to their roster reveal as well. So this has been a much better build-up to this game. They also released some gameplay of the ladder match and the backstage brawl, which I thought both gameplays were really good, especially the backstage brawl. That really looked fantastic. I think that's probably the best backstage brawl they've ever produced, because not only, we'll probably talk more about this about later, but not only can we, fight backstage, but we can enter in different rooms, and we even saw Triple H appearing there, maybe add some storyline elements to the matches as well. So there's a lot they could really do there, and it has a lot of potential though. So that's a really great change. But IGN posted up this, so we'll talk about it now. 6 biggest changes so far for WWE 2K17. So the first one is the ladder match overhaul. So basically, they're trying to really replicate a real life ladder match. One of the issues that they've had, and this will roll on to the next change as well, is they've had, wrestlers don't stay down for very long. In real life, it's mainly one-on-one. Even if it's a fatal 4-way or triple threat, generally they take one guy out of the match, he lays down for 20 minutes and has a nap. In the real game, you don't really get that type of gameplay. You don't really get that, as it's just bang, 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 go. And it can be very frantic, very chaotic, and also can be very difficult to actually get a ending to a match, because pinfalls will be broken up constantly, or someone's always climbing a ladder, someone's always falling a ladder. It doesn't really create a realistic and good match, let's be honest. So one of the things they're trying to do this year is trying to, help that. But first up, with the ladder match, they've changed it so the ladder can only be set up in 5 specific locations. So this time, you can't set the ladder up and obviously climb, and you're nowhere near the title. So now, it'll automatically set it up in a spot that will have an impact, which is good. You can also set up a ladder as a bridge from the apron to the outside barrier, opening up a lot of new opportunities. So I think this is a really good change. I don't play a lot of ladder matches, only when it's really, TLC, or sometimes I'll throw one in here and there for Universe Mode, occasionally on a pay-per-view. So I don't really do too much ladder matches. And one of the reasons is because quite often they don't last very long. The CPU can get the briefcase or the championship belt far too easy, and it doesn't really create that great of a match because they're just fighting over climbing up the ladder and up there. They don't really fight in the ring, don't really create a great match. They don't really set up for much. So I wonder if they've kind of noticed that and worked on that a little bit, but we'll see. So it's first of all not a bad start. The next one is kind of rolling onto what we were saying a moment ago, and that's the rollout system. So when a member of a multi-person match takes a big burst of damage, they'll be forced to roll out of the ring, so they'll be ringside, and where they'll take a rest for a while. So I think this is really, really good, because if someone, gets hit with a finisher, they'll just lay there in the ring. Instead, now the change will force them to go outside the ring, and they'll be taken out of the action, and they can focus on the guys left in the ring. And it might obviously give a big opportunity for something big to happen without someone being able to get up quickly and make a bit of a, break it up or whatever. I think this is a good change. I think this will give a bit more of a realistic feel. And this is a bit of a touchy subject. I think what people really want out of WWE games. I think there's one portion of people who want the arcade system, and one portion who want the simulated style system. Now, I want to know in the comments below, which side are you? Because to me, I like the simulated system. The arcade games, like you go back to the SmackDown, here comes the Pain games, or whatever. It's just go, go, go. It's just crazy. And they hit a finisher and 3 seconds later, they're back up on their feet. To me, it's not really realistic. You don't really see that in real life. So I like the simulated, more trying to emulate real WWE style gameplay. So I like what they're trying to do here, and I think this is a good change. And so far, definitely so good. And the next up is the backstage brawls, or the fighting in the crowd. Now, we talked about this a moment ago with backstage brawl, but the fighting in the crowd obviously was something that we kind of looked at a few weeks ago, and with some of the screenshots, and we kind of speculated that could be coming. But now it is absolutely confirmed, and you can have a backstage brawl match, and you can also fight in the crowd during any match. So that's really, really cool. I like that. The person writing the article didn't really get a chance to fight in the crowd, so we don't really know too much about that yet, at least from what I'm reading here. But that's going to be really, really interesting. And I think there's a few OMG moments as well. So there's obviously a lot they can really branch out through there. And obviously, since it's available in every match, we might see the CPU use it quite a lot, because they do generally go outside the ring a lot. And I think now it will really make matches very, very interesting, and perhaps add a few more exciting elements to it. So hopefully there is a lot to do in that area. I don't think it's going to be full on. You can go anywhere in the arena and fight. I think it's only going to be one, a little part of the arena you can fight in, but that's still better than nothing. Next up, the new change is taunting. So they're trying to really make taunts a little bit more useful, rather than just a temporary boost to momentum. Now, some taunts will give you a damage boost, some will increase the rate of you gain of momentum. So they're trying to make taunts a little bit more useful and have a bit more of a reason to exist, I guess. So that's good. I think the taunting has been pretty shitty in the last few games. It certainly doesn't give you that much of a momentum boost. There's really no point even doing it. I don't even know if it does give you a momentum boost, to be honest with you. So it's good they're actually going to try and do something a little bit more with that. And, obviously different people have different abilities with their taunts, so that will certainly be very, very good. And a couple more here to go. Major reversals play a bigger role. So major reversals were a new addition last year, so in 2K16, but they had a very narrow timing window. So now they're trying to make that a little bit more easier, and you get a bit of more of an offensive boost. A successful major reversal locks out your opponent's ability to perform reversals on their own. So trying to make major reversals really, really good, and kind of make things much easier for you. Finally, the last change is chain wrestling and submission changes. So what they're going to do with chain wrestling, generally every time you start a match, unless, for whatever reason, the opponent's you kind of beat your opponent down for enough in the first couple of minutes, you'll avoid it. But generally, every match will start with a chain wrestling, which is what happens in real life. But now they're kind of changing that a little bit. It's no longer automatically engaged at the start. It'll happen if two wrestlers try to grapple each other at the same time, which I think is the way to go. I think that's how it probably should be. And instead of just automatically, you grapple someone, you try to hit a move with someone, but just because it hasn't been long enough in the opening stage of the match, chain wrestling might still happen. And chain wrestling doesn't even really happen later on in a match either, when that could still definitely happen. So I think it's good that if two at the same time try to grapple each other, now chain wrestling will happen again. So, and finally, submission system. They're trying to basically give you more control on the submissions. Submissions in 2K16 were absolutely a waste of time. I never watched a match, and I've watched many for my universe mode. Never watched a match where a computer tapped out another. So basically, anyone that had a submission as a finisher was absolutely useless. They would never really win. And so much so that most of the time I had to go and edit the moves and take out that submission move. So these guys had a damn chance of winning. Otherwise, they would lose every match. So that's going to be a major, major concern for 2K17. So I'm hoping that they can fix this, and hoping that they can actually make it so submissions work again. This is the thing, like a couple of years ago, I can't remember which game it was, it might have been 2K14, submissions are happening far too often. It was so easy. So then they radically changed it, and now it's so hard. So they need to try and find a happy medium there, and hopefully they can do that, because submissions are a big part of the game, and a lot of people use submissions. A lot of wrestlers have that in their arsenal moves, and some submissions are really, really cool. So I really hope that we can kind of bring that back, and big submissions can really play a major role, rather than basically just having them there. They put it in for 5 seconds and it breaks out. Every time there's a submission that goes in, you basically know it's not going to make your opponent tap it unless you're controlling the submission. So a CPU versus CPU, it's basically useless. So there's some major changes that they're going to implement into this game. Obviously, they've showed some screenshots as well, which I didn't get a chance to see. They actually didn't have them available when I did my roster reveal video the other day. But a lot of people really criticizing the game's graphics. And I think it's a bit of a running joke at this point that, oh, this game looks like it's a PS2 game. But honestly, to me, I'm really finding that really annoying at this point. Now, I probably will stick up for 2K a little bit here. I really like the changes they're implementing here. As an avid player, I've been playing it religiously since WD13, so I've been really, really playing it quite a lot, and I've seen the good and the bad times, and the last few games have been pretty bad. So the changes they're going to do here look pretty good. The graphics, whilst they're not really an improvement, I still think they're up to scratch. I still don't think they need to radically change anything there, really spend too much time trying to overhaul the graphics. I think they look good. And anyone who thinks it's a PS2 game graphics need to slap themselves on the face and get their head out of their ass, because it's not. I went ahead and played SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 a couple days ago, and the graphics are definitely not on the level of W2K. So let's be honest, yes, they're hyperboling the situation, yes, they're exaggerating, and they're trying to emphasize that the graphics are so shit. By comparing it, I get that, but still, they're not bad. They're good enough, and it's time that they don't focus on graphics right now. They need to focus on game modes and gameplay and really improving that, and that's what they're doing. A couple of years ago, 2K15, all they focused on was getting the graphics good. Really shitty career mode, boring game modes to play. The game play was crap. 2K15 sucked. 2K16, a minor improvement. Hopefully 2K17, they get some of these things right and start really forming a great WWE game. They're getting close. They're not quite there yet still, but they are getting close to really creating a great game. And I think it's time we start to show them a little bit more positivity. What they've done so far is really, really good signs. What they've done is really, really promising. Now, obviously, a lot more gameplay features have been announced as well that we haven't got into yet. Now, I know this is going to be a long segment. I apologize. We're going to get into the wrestling chat soon. But there's a lot more changes as well. And we're not going to talk about the gameplay so much here, but some of the creation things, they're really trying to advance that as well. They're adding in a full highlight replay system, which allows people to record video highlights for the matches, which is cool. And they also have a create a video feature, which is cool. So those things can be used to create custom entrance Titantron videos for superstars, which is great. Obviously, there's a few people that probably won't be in the game. Maybe someone like Bobby Roode, for example. We can create some gameplay in-game and create a Titantron from them so it's a bit more authentic. Also, deepened the create a show feature and added a brand new creative victory feature to ensure everyone can create the most comprehensive WWE experience possible. So they're obviously expanding their creation features, which is really good. That's probably one of the main drawing points for WWE games is their customization options. And the last few games have been pretty weak. So now they're trying to improve on that, which is really, really cool. No more showcase mode, and I couldn't be happier. I hate showcase mode. I didn't play a single match in showcase mode on 2K16. I played a little bit of it on 2K15, but I hated it. Honestly, I hate showcase mode, and I'm glad it's going. Let's take a look at showcase mode, and what is it? You're just going back and replaying matches in a storyline or a person's career that we can go and relive in the WWE Network. It's not like we're playing fantasy matches, not like we're creating storylines, new, unique storylines. We're just going back and rehashing what's already been done. So to me, showcase mode is just boring. You know, some feuds were kind of seen done to death, and, you know, you have to go back and replay that all again on the game. It's not exciting, honestly. I just never really liked doing it, and I'm glad that they are taking it out to focus on the game modes that I think are much, much more interesting, and that's Universe Mode and Career Mode. So some new features for Universe Mode. This is obviously my bread and butter. This is what I'm excited for, and I can't wait. So what they're really trying to do is really create more of a show type of feel, which is what I've been wanting for a long time. So they have a new show presentation system, which makes players feel like they're playing through weekly episodes of any WWE show, which is great. That's what I want now. They didn't really expand too much in that, but I'm really, really happy about that. Now, you can also create run-ins as well as pre- and post-match attacks, which is awesome. You guys know that my Universe Mode, I really try to integrate that a lot, but obviously it's not that great. There's not really any way that I can make it look very good. But now they're going to actually have that available in the game. That is awesome. So just think how great my Universe Mode can be now. My Universe Mode has always been limited via the game. You know, the game has always been the reason why my Universe Mode doesn't go to the next level, you know. So now we can try and use some of these new features to make the Universe Mode much, much greater. And now a big feature in the game as well is promos. So they're going to have a brand new promo engine that lets the WWE superstars express their thoughts and emotions to the WWE Universe Mode and one another. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Creates a new dynamic experience and brings you closer to the actual WWE better than ever. And they're revamping all the Universe Mode cutscenes, including some familiar and brand new scenarios. So basically, we're going to have promos, we're going to have the ability to have more cutscenes and kind of use them a lot better. Universe Mode is going to be great. So we're going to have cutscenes happening more often. Hopefully we can kind of just say, we want this cutscene right now. Hopefully we have all the control, because that's what we want. This is like our show. And we shouldn't have to rely on randomness. We should be able to just say, I want this cutscene to happen for this match. And I want to be able to create the whole show myself. I want to create my own WWE universe. And that's what it should be. They haven't really replicated that. They haven't really done that. These changes really suggest they're getting a lot closer to achieving that. So Career Mode will also have the promo engine as well. They're trying to revamp the backstage interviews because they were really, really bad. And they're also having backstage brawls. And their attire can now make a difference in their journey. And they'll come face-to-face with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. So, yeah, a few things there for Career Mode. Nothing really groundbreaking. But there's the new features for W2K17. And I really am excited for W2K17. I think this could be the year where we finally get the game that we've been waiting for. Like I said, there's a few different things I could go in for another video, another time, and really suggest a lot of changes that I would like to see again. You guys know that I really want to see GM mode return, things like that. But for what they're really suggesting here, this is really sounding really, really good. So I'm very, very excited for W2K17. I hope you guys are too. So I'd like to know in your comments below your thoughts on the new W2K17 features. And let me know if you are excited for the W2K17 game. Alrighty, so we'll move on to the real wrestling chat. Now, I obviously spent a lot of time on W2K17, so I apologize for that. But that's obviously something that's really on my mind. I really want to get into that. So this probably will be a bit longer of a podcast today. So, first piece of news today, Paige and Del Rio suspended for 30 days for violating the wellness policy. I mean, come on, really. Paige is just pissing her career away. Let's be honest. Del Rio is late 30s, you know, he's been married before, I think he's got kids. Like, this guy is just coming back to get paid from WWE. He's coming back for a 1-year contract. It's already well known that he's going to be leaving the WWE as soon as his contract is gone. He's not going to re-sign. So this guy is back to have a good time. Back to travel around, get paid, and obviously he's got Paige on the side as a little bit of a fling here. Do I think it's serious? No, I don't. But Paige is obviously, you know, judging from her social media, she's all in. You know, this is the real deal to her, and she's kind of sticking by her man. Even some rumors that she might even leave WWE as well to go with Del Rio. I mean, God, I don't know what Paige is doing. She's 24 years old. Got to remember, a couple of years ago, she was the main star of the women's locker room. She was the main thing. She was going to be the person to carry the women's division for the next decade. Now, she's not even on TV. I think right now she's injured. I think she's got a bit of a neck injury, so things aren't going well for her at all. And now she's violated the wellness policy. Quite possible that she might be violating it with some kind of stimulant that will help her with the pain. Quite possible that that's the case. But Del Rio and Paige both getting suspended at the same time would have to suggest that they're both doing the same type of drug. And you'd have to assume that's probably some kind of party drug, just from out of assumption. Because why else would they get suspended on the same thing? You know, Del Rio wouldn't need to take any painkillers, you know, for an injury that he probably doesn't have, or that degree that Paige has. So you'd have to probably say, I'm just speculating here, but it would have to be some kind of party drug. We don't know yet. Very possible that the details could come out when the show airs, but it's going to be very interesting to see. I think Del Rio might not even come back. I think his match with John Cena could very well be his last in the WWE ever. I mean, this has been an absolute terrible run, a colossal failure from a shitty US title reign to the League of Nations, which sucked. And now, I thought they were generally going to push the guy as one of the lead guys on SmackDown, but he's not even on the show most weeks. So, he is definitely on his way out. Jobbed out to Cena this week, and I think it's pretty clear that he's not coming back. He will leave the WWE. And I guess he just wanted one last big payday, one last big run, hopefully to try and boost his name a little bit. But I think, if anything, it's really worsened his name. When he left WWE a couple years ago, you know, he still had a bit of credibility there. Now, I think he's been relegated to mid-card status. Not even upper mid-card, he's in the mid-card. He's just, you know, another dude on the roster. So he's really hurt his image. And I guess he could go back to Lucha Underground and really regain the form that he was in, go to AAA again and do that. But I don't think he'll be able to get as much as he would like on the independents again, because I can't see that. So it kind of leads to my next point. Maybe we could see someone like Del Rio might pop up where Damien Sandow has popped up, and that's TNA. So Damien Sandow made his debut in TNA. Aaron Rex, I think the name is. obviously cut the generic, well, fuck the WWE kind of promo. They never gave me the opportunity. I'm here to TNA. I'm going to take the opportunity. I'm going to get what I want. Blah, 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 blah. The promo that we've seen everybody do. And it's kind of like, well, we've seen this so many times. It would have been nice for him to do something different. But he hasn't really. Sporting a bit of a new look. Shaved the beard a bit. Not much there now. And, you know, I think this could be generally a great signing for TNA. Now, I think he teased perhaps a feud with the world champion. So we'll see more about that. But I think Sandow, I don't think he's going to be any type of ratings boost, but I think he's going to be a good addition to the roster. Someone who's still in his prime, someone who's still a great wrestler, a great entertainer, a great promo. And I said this last week that he is the perfect guy for TNA. Going to Lucha Underground, I just couldn't see it. Just couldn't see him in that nitty-gritty type of role. Going to Ring of Honor, he's more of an entertainer than that. Same with Japan. So I think TNA, quite honestly, as much as you want to say about TNA, I think is the right decision for Sandow. It's the right place for Sandow to be. So TNA getting a good acquisition there. And you just kind of wonder, though, you know, I was speaking about Del Rio a moment ago, TNA has an opportunity, and I know they don't have much money, let's be honest, but they have an opportunity. If they could get Cody Rhodes, they could get Ryback, maybe Wade Barrett again, and maybe Del Rio, then that's a pretty good list of some credible names that they could bring in and really help their roster out. So there's some decent names on the independents now, or will be soon, that TNA could snap up and kind of really bolster their roster up now. I'm not sure if they will ever get Cody Rhodes. He's probably the one guy I can't really see them getting. But Del Rio, he might ask for a bit too much and probably won't want to work there. But I could definitely see someone like Ryback going there. So I think there's a lot of potential for TNA to kind of snap up a few names. Now, I don't think it's going to have a big impact, no pun intended, on their ratings. But, you know, having a few names there might help them out a bit. And I think TNA somehow is still surviving. I'm going to talk more about TNA later with Billy Corrigan becoming the new president, but this is a good signing for TNA. Now, I haven't really been very impressed with TNA at all last few years, but this is something that I'm happy for them that they've got Sandow, and I hope Sandow really does well. Or Aaron Rex. Not a big fan of the name. I think he should have done Aaron Stevens, but that's just me. All right, moving on to this week's Monday Night Raw, and now again, we've had, 3 weeks now? This is week 4 of the brand split. Last week, I think we settled on SmackDown winning. So that means SmackDown is 2, Raw is 1. So, SmackDown versus Raw this week. Now, I will say I liked Raw, but again, I've got to say I think I liked SmackDown better. And I think, judging from all the reviews and results and polls I've seen, most of you guys agree. So, SmackDown again gets another win. So that makes it 3 wins for SmackDown, 1 to Raw. And I'm going to once again go down to the point. This is why I think Raw really suffered. I think Raw was a good show, but just 1 extra hour, SmackDown will always have an advantage. I'm watching SmackDown and I'm just seeing bang, bang, bang. I'm not really getting much filler. I'm just getting a nice, compacted wrestling show, and everything I want to see is right in there. Now, was there any terrific matches, anything really groundbreaking? No, not really, but it still overall was a good show. So I'm really happy that SmackDown is finding it's a bit of an own identity and really performing well. The ratings took a bit of a jump this week with SmackDown, a very small jump. So it's still remaining steady, which is good. I think a lot of people are trying to kind of get back in the swing of watching SmackDown again. I think a lot of us have not watched SmackDown in a long time, so trying to get back in the swing of things and get used to watching SmackDown again is going to be a little bit of a challenge for some people. Finding that time as well, and finding that motivation to watch SmackDown live, I think will be a challenge as well, considering you watch 3 hours of Raw. Sometimes you watch 3-4 hours of pay-per-view, then Raw, then you go to SmackDown as well. So certainly this week coming up will be a bit of a struggle, and I wouldn't be surprised if SmackDown takes a hit in the ratings because of that, because I think a lot of people might just DVR SmackDown. And even though it is live, they might DVR it because of that factor that it's the last live show of the week, the last must-see show of the week. Some people might be like, all right, there's been so much wrestling already, maybe I'll wait a little bit before I watch it. But I am liking SmackDown, but I thought Raw was good this week. Really impressed by Rusev this week. I think he's really starting to break out into a bit of a star again. For the longest time, Rusev was stuck with the League of Nations, really struggling, really losing all of his momentum, but he's starting to regain that a little bit now, and that's because of this feud with Roman Reigns. You can say what you want to say about Roman Reigns, but he's getting positive reactions now. And I think it's been ridiculous that the crowd, just because he's in the mid-card, all of a sudden want to cheer the guy and love the guy. I think that's beyond retarded, but that's what it is. But, at least it's a positive reaction for Reigns. Is it because he's feuding with Rusev, who's the, evil bad foreigner, and people want to cheer anyone that's from America to help out? I don't know. We'll see. But Reigns and Rusev, I think it's a great matchup, and I think it's a great little rivalry. I'm really, really enjoying the confrontation between the two. But what I didn't want to see this week, and this is the reason why I didn't watch this match, was Rusev and Roman Reigns 1-on-1. I wanted to see that and wait for SummerSlam. They had a huge match on Raw. It was long. It was like half an hour long. And I had a lot of commercials in between, but it was a long, long match. And they're giving away the match before the pay-per-view. So now we've already seen a match that probably will be longer and maybe even better than the pay-per-view match. We've already seen it. So it's kind of like, well, what the fuck's the point of watching the match at the pay-per-view? We've already seen Reigns beat Rusev. So that was a little silly. So Raw had a lot of questionable booking decisions this week, which is probably why I didn't really enjoy the show as much as SmackDown. But that was obviously a strange one. I mean, why would you do that? But Reigns did win, which would suggest that Rusev might retain. Generally, the way it goes, whoever gets stands tall the week before the pay-per-view will probably lose at the pay-per-view. So, on that kind of precedent, Rusev will probably win. I think Rusev will win, but we'll get into our full SummerSlam predictions later on. I want to say Jericho, aka Jerry KO, is fantastic. These guys are hilarious, messing up Tom Phillips' names. You can see them just trying to think of new names constantly every time they were talking. It was hilarious. These guys are awesome, and I hope this tag team run for them lasts a couple months at least. They are hilarious. I love these two guys together. They are fantastic, and it's such a really random pairing. They've kind of just thrown the two together, but I'm so glad they did because these two guys are terrific, really. And Enzo and Cass, I think, are good opponents for them as well. So this has been a really, really good rivalry between the two, something that I'm really enjoying on Raw. So we talked about questionable booking decisions, and I don't think there's any more questionable than this. So we've had Sheamus and Cesaro for the last 2 weeks, and Cesaro's beaten Sheamus not once but twice. Now, all of a sudden, we need to see it possibly 7 more times. Now, why the hell do we need to see Sheamus and Cesaro 7 times in a best of 7 series? Now, whose idea was that? Whose idea was to have Sheamus and Cesaro 7 times? I mean, this would, if it goes to 7, this would mean we'd have Sheamus versus Cesaro 9 weeks. Well, take out this week. I mean, if you want to count the pay-per-view as a week, 9 out of 10 weeks. So that's, 2.5 months we're going to be seeing this go for. That is a long time. I think Sheamus will obviously win the first one, maybe even the second one, get a bit of an early lead, and try and... I don't know why don't they just count the 2 matches that beforehand and give Cesaro a 2-0 up? At least we don't have to see potentially 2 extra matches between the two. Now, who in God's green earth wants to see Sheamus in 7 matches, let alone in a best of 7 series? I don't know. This isn't exactly Chris Benoit in there with Cesaro. Sheamus is not a bad worker, but honestly, I mean, I don't think the crowd are really chomping at the bit to see Sheamus in there 7 times with Cesaro. So it's a very questionable one. And what is it? The winner gets a title match or something like that. I mean, what is there to prove? I mean, Cesaro beat Sheamus twice. I don't see the need to even do this rivalry. I mean, it's the best of 7 because Cesaro has already done it. He's already beaten Sheamus. So why does he have to beat him again, let alone 4 more times? I don't know. But for whatever reason, that's their decision. And we'll see that match at SummerSlam to kick it off. Jinder Mahal, wow, what a return he's had. Epic, is to say the least. I mean, wow, he came back, he beat Heath Slater. That's a great return match. He beat Heath Slater. That's probably the only guy this idiot is going to beat. Because Jinder Mahal comes back and loses to Neville on his first real return match. this guy obviously brought back to be quote-unquote an enhancement guy. Probably going to join Heath Slater as the guy who's going to be put everyone over. Just, a decent hand, gets him in there and puts on a decent match and loses. So, don't see any real push for this guy. Probably someone you'll see just kind of take up an extra roster spot and kind of help beef up the roster a little bit and have a few lower card guys. And I think that's probably what he knows. That's what he knows that's his role. And I think anyone coming back probably knows that's what their role is going to be. They're not going to give them a big push. They're going to bring them back as, lower card guys, and they're probably going to lose. That's probably reason why, someone like MVP might not come back, or John Morrison may not come back, because that's not what they want to do. They want to, obviously get a genuine push. I don't think the WWE is really offering that. Kurt Hawkins is coming back for SmackDown. I want to say that gimmick that he's going to have looks absolutely ridiculously horrible. I don't know what they're doing there. These facts, what is he? I mean, I don't know. It's really, really looking terrible. So, not much hope if you're a Kurt Hawkins fan. All two of you out there, not looking good for your guy. He is probably going to be demoted down to Heath Slater status after a couple of weeks as well. So, and honestly, probably deserves it, honestly. I mean, didn't have a great run to begin with. Don't really see much in the guy. Probably lower mid-card guy. Just goes out there and competes in some of the lower shows and has the odd match here on SmackDown and loses. Whatever. That's probably about right. So, Jinder Mahal's doing the same for Raw. So, we need a few of these guys because obviously got a lot of influx of NXT guys. Who are these guys going to beat? Who's going to lose? So that's the thing. We don't want top names to lose. This is why we need someone like Jinder Mahal to come in and lose to someone like Neville. I don't know why as well. This is another strange one. Darren Young and Titus O'Neil feuding again. Now, they did this feud, 2 years ago when they broke them up, broke the Prompter Blaze up. They had Titus O'Neil turn heel. It was dreadful. Now they're sort of teasing another heel turn from Titus, which nobody wants to boo Titus O'Neil. This guy is the Father of the Year. This guy is a noted charitable person. He's doing all these great things in the community. And he's got this big, great smile. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. He's just a great person. Who wants to boo Titus O'Neil just because he's beaten up Darren Young or didn't want to team up with him? Nobody wants to boo that. So if they're trying to force a heel turn from Titus, I don't think it's going to work. If anything, if he beats up Darren Young and maybe even Bob Backlund, I think most of us will cheer. I think we'll all be happy because we all hate Darren Young and, Bob Backlund, let's be honest. It's terrible. So, I don't know why they're trying to force a rivalry between those two. It didn't work the first time. It's not working this time. If anything, these two guys got to just be separated from one another. Be a tag team or don't come near one another because it just doesn't work. Alrighty, so Brock Lesnar, well, he murdered Heath Slater. Heath Slater, this was probably one of the highlights of the show, honestly. Heath Slater came out and approached Brock Lesnar and said, look, I've got to feed my 2 kids and my other kids. He basically said, look, I need to beat you. I need to verse you in a match. If I beat you, I get a contract. So that's obviously pretty slim to none odds that he might do that. Lesnar beat the shit out of him, and it was hilarious. And Randy Orton basically did the same thing on SmackDown, basically killed Heath Slater. The SmackDown beating was worse because Heath Slater, I don't think, got one single punch in the whole match. And that's a whole match. It's a whole match. Heath Slater won the match thanks to disqualification. And obviously, after the match, being, so concussed or whatever from the beatdown, and he thought he was on Raw again and lost his chance to the contract. So I really like the Heath Slater storyline. It's hilarious. This guy is really good. It'd be interesting to see where he ends up. Will he end up anywhere at all? How long are they going to drag this out for? Is he ever going to get a contract? Because it doesn't seem likely at this point. He's had a couple chances on SmackDown. He might have to go back to Raw and try there. If not, well, maybe TNA will give him a contract. Who knows? But I really like what they're doing there. And it was good to see Brock Lesnar doing something and beating someone up. That's what he needs to do a bit more. Finally, the Demon King. No, not the Demon Kane. Demon King. Every time I hear Demon King, I think Demon Kane. I keep thinking, Seth Rollins, obviously, since he's had a lot of history of Kane, I keep thinking he's going to slip and say Demon Kane, not Demon King, I just slip. So, yeah, so interesting they're calling him that, and interesting that they would debut it on Raw. Is it they want to have a strong segment on Raw to, encourage people to get the pay-per-view? Or do they want to test the waters a little bit and kind of see the reaction for it, see what people think before SummerSlam? I don't know. Whatever their excuse is, doesn't make sense to me. I think this is a poor decision. I think they've got to save this big surprise for the pay-per-view. We've all seen, anyone who's watched the TakeOver special has all seen Finn Balor painted up. We all know what it's like, but there's a big portion of the audience that don't watch NXT that aren't quite aware of what this is all about. So giving that at SummerSlam instead of a pretty shitty Texan crowd would have had a much better response and would have been much, much better. I really liked the design that he had on. I think it looked really, really cool. So now when he goes to SummerSlam and comes out all painted up with the demon attire, it's going to lose its luster. It's not going to be as exciting. People aren't going to be as into it, I don't think. And he'll have to probably do something really drastic, like, come out with, for example, when he came out with a chainsaw one time, he'll have to do something like that, something really out there to top it and to make it different. That's going to be an issue. So if he's not going to come out and do something like that, well then, what the hell? Maybe he won't even come out with pain at all. I don't know, but I just feel as though debuting that on Raw was a mistake. And it's going to have a bit of a hit on the luster that match will have. And it's a hit that they can't really afford to have. I think a lot of people are kind of leaning towards Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose as the most exciting world title match. I think I am. I'm really liking the lead up to Ambrose and Ziggler, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But Finn Balor and Rollins just kind of, not quite there. They're just kind of struggling a little bit. I thought last week was good. This week, they had the little interaction, but a little fight brawl there, which was okay. But the promos is the issue for Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. The promos is the problem, whereas I think Ambrose and Ziggler are really killing it on the promos. And a lot of people criticizing Ambrose for his podcast with Stone Cold last week and criticizing Ziggler for whatever reason. But I think these two guys, once again, really delivering great promos. Ziggler giving it his all, obviously has the bit of the shouty type promo, which is okay. It's a bit of a throwback when everyone's screaming at the mic. Ambrose is a bit of a complete opposite. So I think it's a good little pairing there. It's a good little mix there, and I think both guys will deliver. This is a great opportunity for Ziggler to reestablish himself as a top guy. And, I don't think he'll probably win, but if anything, they've done a great job in rebuilding him up again to be a threat. And this might not be his pay-per-view, but they might be able to keep him at that top level and keep him in the mix. And it opens up a few new feuds. Obviously, an AJ Styles feud with Dolph Ziggler. I think that would be cool. And maybe get a bit of a real Bray Wyatt feud as well. I don't think we've really seen too much of them have a genuine feud. So there's a few things they open up there with Ziggler and potentially even a heel turn. So I like that. I like what they can do there. Again, we talked about this last week for SmackDown, but the tag division needs some work. And specifically this week, I forgot about the Usos last week even being on SmackDown. I've completely forgot about them. And what they need to do here is they've got to build up a heel tag team. Usos and American Alpha. Probably the top two teams there. Usos have a bit of credibility for what they've done, been champions before, blah, 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 blah. Hype Bros still completely unproven. Ascension been absolutely buried over the last 2 years. Vaudevillains have been absolutely buried over the last 3 months. And Breezango, bit of potential there. We haven't really... It's probably a bit too new to say what their direction is. They've been a bit 50-50. So, whilst they've got a great babyface team, American Alpha, without a doubt, the top team on the show already. And the Usos going okay. Very stale, very boring, really sick of them, but they're okay. So they really lack a great heel opposition to go against American Alpha, which is going to be a big issue. So they really need to start building up a new heel team. Either probably pick a team that they've got established as heels already, or force a heel turn, maybe from the Usos. Do something to, establish a top heel tag team to go up against the American Alpha. Because right now, who would they feud with? Breezango? I mean, come on. So they've got to do something and start building that up. Naomi sporting a bit of a new look this week on SmackDown as well. And I gotta say, when I first saw it, I'm like, what is this? But looking back now, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, it's very different. The lights, the glowing, whatever. It's very different, and it's something that stands her apart from the rest, and I think that's a good thing. So, I gotta say, I like it. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the new look. I'm a fan of it, and, she had the light-up shoes, way back when, but she's gone the extra mile now, and honestly, it's working. I could see kids, getting into that, the glow sticks or whatever. She could come out and throw them around. I don't know. I think it could work. I like it, and it seems as though they're going to position her as a top woman on that show, top babyface alongside Becky. So that'll be interesting to see. That's shaping up to be not too bad of a women's division now. A little small women's division on SmackDown, but it's shaping up to be not too bad. Another bit of a teaser this week was Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. They teased a bit of a feud as well. After Orton's beatdown on Slater, Wyatt and Orton had a bit of a confrontation. I think a lot of people kind of wondering, will Bray Wyatt now interfere in his match with Brock Lesnar? It's quite possible. Not sure what his intentions or why he would do that, but I hope they doesn't interfere. I hope it's just a straight up match I've been waiting years and years to see. Let's see it. Whoever wins will win, and then they both move on to something else. But teasing Wyatt and Orton there, that's a good, smart decision, because now you kind of are thinking, well, what could happen to pay-per-view? Will Bray Wyatt interfere? And also, you kind of plant the seeds a little bit for a Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt feud beyond SummerSlam. So if Wyatt doesn't interfere, well, hey, you've started something new to follow up for Lesnar and Orton, because obviously they're on two separate brands. They won't meet again. So that rivalry will be done and dusted after SummerSlam. So you want to start building to something else, and Bray Wyatt being there could be the start of something else. So not a bad decision there to do that. Finally, do we have the new Heidenreich? Is Baron Corbin the new Heidenreich? I mean, isn't it just a little disturbing and uncomfortable again, what he's doing with Kalisto? Pinned him up against the wall, slapping him around a bit. I mean, I don't think that's the way to go for Baron Corbin. Anything remotely similar to Heidenreich is not a good thing. So, yeah, thumbs down for me on that one. But that's SmackDown this week. Like I said, I think I like SmackDown more again, but I really did like Raw, but I just feel like a few decisions on Raw were really like, what the fuck? So I'm going to have to give it to SmackDown again this week. I know I'm a little biased because I like SmackDown, but if Raw's better, I will generally say it's better. But I think everyone's in agreement that SmackDown probably was the better show this week. We'll get into our SummerSlam predictions now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through every single match, give my predictions on who I think is going to win, and some of the different things that could potentially happen beyond SummerSlam. So where I think things are going to be heading. Alrighty, so for SummerSlam, we'll kick it off with the Eva Marie, Natalya, and Alexa Bliss versus Carmella, Naomi, and Becky Lynch match. Wouldn't surprise me if this is on the pre-show. Yeah, not a bad little match there. Obviously, Eva Marie, will she actually wrestle? Probably not, let's be honest. And she might walk out on her team when they're about to tag her in or something like that. And probably Carmella, Naomi, and Becky Lynch will pick up the victory there. So they might kind of carry on that Eva Marie tease of her not wrestling. And like I said last week, the longer they put it off for, the harder it's going to be for her to deliver. When she actually does wrestle, if she's not good, then she's going to bomb pretty badly. So I don't think that's a good decision at all to kind of postpone that. Best of 7 series, Sheamus versus Cesaro. I think Sheamus will get the first win. Otherwise, it'll be 3 wins in a row for Cesaro. So Sheamus would be dead and buried, wouldn't he? I mean, come on. I mean, there's no way back for him. So I think Sheamus will probably win. I wouldn't surprise me if Sheamus takes a 2-0 lead or something like that and Cesaro works his way back. Tag Team Championship. Oh, sorry, no. First up, we have Enzo and Big Cass versus Jerry KO. I think Enzo and Cass will win. I think, obviously, Jerry KO, very short-term tag team, whereas Enzo and Cass will be the real deal. So I think they'll probably pick up the victory. But that should be a very, very entertaining match. That'll be one of the highlights, I think. Tag titles, New Davis, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson. I think Big E will make his return from his unfortunate injury. He'll make his return either during or after the match or something like that. But I get the feeling Gallows and Anderson will probably win the belts here. I think it's probably about time the New Day lost the belts. I think we kind of are at that stage where we wouldn't really mind a change. And the New Day, for the longest time, have been the only great team on the show. But now they've got Enzo and Cass, American Alpha, and now Gallows and Anderson getting a bit of momentum as well. The whole Doctor thing, I really like that. So I've been a little bit more impressed with them a bit more as well. So I think they're on the improve. So I think a change would be for the best. John Cena versus AJ Styles. This should be a tremendous match. I'd like to think Styles will win because I feel like Styles could immediately go after Ambrose, his championship. And I think Styles winning, obviously being the only other heel other than Bray Wyatt on SmackDown, I think would give him the boost he needs to be credible enough to challenge for the title and really create a great feud there. But John Cena, as he's been coined the term on some of the other shows I like to listen to, he's a loan shark, 1 for you, 2 for me. So Cena probably will win this match, let's be real. So he will probably beat Styles and they'll probably move on. IC title, Miz versus Apollo Crews. Love to see Apollo Crews get a win here, but he hasn't really been featured that much. I mean, they had a bit of a commercial break interaction between the two, so that wasn't exactly great for Apollo. But I think it might be time to kind of push someone new, give someone different opportunity. And Miz, as IC champion, he's not really an in-ring type of guy. He's just on the mic talking, doing this talk shows and stuff. And like I've said before on the show, we'd like to see that IC championship being defended a lot more and a lot better matches happening surrounding that. So I think Apollo Crews would be a great Intercontinental champion. Rusev versus Roman Reigns for the US title. As I said earlier, I think Rusev will probably... Well, I hope Rusev wins because I don't think Roman Reigns needs the belt. The big discussion has been, is Roman Reigns getting punished for going to the mid-card to fight Rusev for the US title? I mean, people are going to say, will Roman Reigns... I've been getting questions. Is Reigns going to get pushed again? I mean, Roman Reigns is still getting pushed. Roman Reigns is on the SummerSlam card in a high-profile US title match. He's been involved in the main events of Raw the last couple weeks. This guy is still getting exactly the same push as he was. Instead of the world title, it's just the US title. So it's just like John Cena. I mean, he's still a pivotal part of the show when he was US champion, but it just wasn't the world title. So does that make it just okay? So people are kind of a little bit more forgiving when it's for the US title instead of the world title. So are we having that much importance? We kind of categorizing the world title to be that more important. It doesn't, as long as it's not the world title, it's okay. Is that the philosophy? That's the mindset. So that seems to be what the wrestling fans are kind of saying. So very interesting indeed. But I think Rusev should win, hopefully, and I think Lana might interfere and keep the belt for Rusev. But I wouldn't mind seeing those two match up again. I like this matchup. But obviously they gave it away on Raw, so maybe this will be the last match and that'll be it. And Reigns will move on to perhaps whoever wins the Universal title. Women's Championship, Sasha vs. Charlotte. I think Dana Brooke being banned from ringside will probably suggest that Sasha will win. They wouldn't want to give the belt off her too soon, so I think they'll give her a chance to have a run. WWE title, Ambrose versus Ziggler. Can't see Ambrose losing it. I mean, Ziggler, whilst they've been giving him a good push, I just feel like it's still temporary. I still feel as though he's not quite there yet. Some rumblings that Ambrose might be in the doghouse after what he said about Lesnar, but I don't think that's going to lead to him losing the belt. I would be very surprised if Ziggler won, but stranger things have happened, so I wouldn't rule it out, but to me, I think Ambrose is the right choice. Have Dolph Ziggler go away and build him up. If you generally want him to be champion again, have him go away and beat some guys and come back in 3 months' time and challenge for the belt. And that way, he'll be much more well received when he does actually win it, if he does. Universal title, Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. For me, I would have Finn Balor win the belt, but I feel like Rollins will probably get it. So he can be similar to like Chris Jericho. I'm the first ever Universal Champion, blah, 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 blah. He can kind of use that against everyone forever, and that can kind of be his new thing. I think Finn Balor will be champion at some point. He will get his time, but perhaps he needs to have a bit more time on the main roster and get some crowd reactions going and kind of get some merchandise selling and get some catchphrases or something over and work on that a little bit longer. And I think this match will probably be the main event. I can't see the other title matches main eventing over this. Lesnar versus Orton. This has been the highest build match of the build up. So I definitely think Lesnar and Orton will be the main event, and I think it'll be awesome. It depends. Brock Lesnar's been in the news a bit thanks to Ambrose because of his laziness with his match at WrestleMania, and I said it was probably down to the fact that he was trying to get out of the match unscathed because he was going back to UFC at the time. Now his UFC commitments are over. Wouldn't surprise me if he gives it his all with Orton. And big SummerSlam main event. Hopefully they get 25-30 minutes. I think this is going to be a great match. The winner isn't so locked in, though. I think a lot of people probably say, Lesnar's going to win. There's no way Orton is going to win. But you just wouldn't rule it out. I think Randy Orton is a good chance. Quite honestly, I think I would probably nearly have Randy Orton win. I think I would nearly rather Randy Orton to beat Brock Lesnar. You have Randy Orton come back, it's this huge win. Randy Orton's on a lot of momentum right now. The crowd are really liking Randy Orton, and I think they would be happy to see Randy Orton beat Brock Lesnar. And I think some of the crowd probably a little bit against Lesnar right now because of the whole drug thing. So maybe it's WWE's way of punishing Lesnar a little bit. Will it hurt Lesnar? No. Will it benefit Randy Orton? I definitely think so. You can immediately get Randy Orton back as the top guy on SmackDown. For a while, Randy Orton has been in that upper mid-card role, bouncing back and forth. Now, with a huge win over Brock Lesnar, well then, immediately you could throw him in the title picture. So, Randy Orton and Dean Ambrose, I don't think we've seen that as a rivalry before, so that would be something that I would personally definitely be interested in. So, it's very likely that Lesnar will win, but there's still a chance that Randy Orton will probably win. I would like to probably see Randy Orton win. I mean, why not? Lesnar probably won't wrestle again till the Royal Rumble. So, is there any real point? I mean, I don't know. But that's just my opinion. Moving on to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn number 2. And I haven't seen too much of NXT the last few weeks, but I've seen some of it building up beforehand. So we'll get into this one. So I'm pretty well aware of all the rivalries going on right now, and I think it's shaping up to be a good show. NXT is just missing a little bit of star power right now because of the transition and the change, but this is the time where they can really use the next 6 months to create new stars, and that's what NXT is all about. It shouldn't, once they're ready to move up, they got to move up. There is no point in keeping them in NXT if they're not needed to be, they don't need to be there. So NXT is a developmental system. That's what it needs to be. Yes, it's a show. It's a network special as well. But at the end of the day, you got to have these guys move up to help the shows that make you the real money, and that's Raw and SmackDown. So Finn Balor's ready to go. You got to get Finn Balor up there. American Alpha ready to go. Got to get him up there. So NXT will always keep on taking a hit, but it's what they do to bounce back from that that'll be interesting, and they can keep signing guys. Kota Ibushi, for example, bring him in, boost up the roster again. Bobby Roode, blah 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 blah. They can keep doing that and keep the brand going well, and just build some guys up. They've got some big names still there to headline the show and sell tickets. So first up, Ember Moon will make her debut against Billie Kay. Obviously, Ember Moon will win this, but I don't know too much about her. I've heard that she's pretty damn good, so that should be something to see. No Way Jose versus Austin Aries. I know a lot of people like No Way Jose, but to me, I don't like it at all. And I know they're pretty high and want to give him a big push, but to me, I don't care for the guy at all. So I would much rather see Austin Aries win. Even though I know that's a bit of a backwards type of thinking, why not give the younger guy the big win? But, I don't know. I still feel like there's a lot that Austin Aries can do in NXT still. The Revival versus Gargano and Ciampa. I wouldn't be against Gargano and Ciampa winning, and perhaps having the Revival move up to SmackDown. I'd have the Revival go to SmackDown to help maybe they could be the answer to their heel tag team woes. they could be the top heel tag team on SmackDown, and maybe they renew that rivalry with American Alpha on SmackDown. Maybe that's the way to go. They've already been tag champs a couple times, and why not give it to a new team and kind of go from there? So if I was going to do it, maybe that's the way I would go. Andrade's Cien Almas versus Bobby Roode. You got to have Bobby Roode win. Isn't this his in-ring debut? I mean, although Almas is going to get a push, and Almas is great as well, you got to give it to Bobby Roode. After all, he's glorious. Bobby Roode. He's just simply glorious. You got to give him the win. So Bobby Roode for me will get that one, and I will be watching just to see Bobby Roode. I love Bobby Roode, so I cannot wait. I am addicted to the Glorious theme song. I haven't heard it for about a week. Maybe I'll play it to close out the show again, but I love that theme song. It is fantastic. It is just glorious. Asuka versus Bayley for the title. Yeah, I think Asuka's going to win this one. I think Bayley, she's 100% ready to go up, and it's just a matter of time when they're going to bring her up. Will she be on Raw or SmackDown? Raw maybe needs Bayley there. I mean, obviously, actually, Raw's got Charlotte, Dana, Sasha, Nia Jax. So maybe not. So you could also have Bayley go to SmackDown and be another top name. But SmackDown is obviously going okay in terms of babyface women. So that's why I'm thinking maybe Raw needs another top babyface there. And you can kind of pair her up with Sasha Banks there again and have her oppose with Charlotte. That could be something interesting. So that's probably where I see Bayley in the future and Asuka getting the win. But I think Asuka is nearly ready to move up herself. I think it won't be too long before we start to see her on the main roster because she's obviously in her mid-30s. So she probably doesn't have too much time actually left to really make a big splash on the main roster. So if they're going to bring her up and have her do something, it's got to be sooner rather than later. And finally, the main event, Samoa Joe versus Nakamura. It's got to be Nakamura. Nakamura is the man. Nakamura is killing it, while Samoa Joe hasn't really done too much as champion. I mean, obviously, for a while there, he wasn't even on the show. Whenever I was watching, probably a good month and a half where he wasn't even on the show. So that's a very interesting way to book your champion. But obviously, around about the takeover time, they've featured him a lot more. But I think Nakamura's NXT champion would be fantastic. Have him headline the shows, be the major face of the brand. I think that's a great way to go. Obviously, his promos isn't the right thing, but obviously, being the face of NXT is a lot different to being the face of Raw or SmackDown. So they can get away with that pretty comfortably. And he's just got to go out there and entertain, and he does that very, very well. I like Samoa Joe as well, but I think Nakamura has a bit more momentum there, and Samoa Joe's kind of been at the top of NXT for a while, and he's another guy who probably doesn't need to be in NXT much longer. So Nakamura can kind of be the passing of the torch a little bit and kind of take over the reins as NXT champion and the top name of NXT. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have another match as well for the belt down the line. So, maybe Nakamura and Bobby Roode could be a big headline match, as well as Nakamura and Austin Aries maybe, and go from there. So there's a lot to like there, and I think there's still plenty of potential in NXT, still plenty of big names in NXT, and I still think they're going to be just fine. So I'm happy to see that one. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a really, really good show. Will it top last year's show? Maybe. I think the main event might be a lot better, honestly. Obviously, the women's match last year was ridiculous, so maybe Asuka and Bayley, they certainly have the potential to top that, so it wouldn't surprise me, and there's a lot there, lots to look forward to, so I think that's going to be a pretty good card and a pretty good show, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. Alrighty, so we've gone a little bit long at the moment already, but we will get into everything we wanted to talk about this week, so we will have a long show this week. Why not? It's SummerSlam weekend. Billy Corrigan is the new TNA president. Dixie Carter stepping down and taking on a new role. I don't really care what she's doing, but new TNA president, will it really mean too much for change? I don't think so. TNA as a brand, as a company, has a stain on it that I don't think wrestling fans are ever really willing to give it another shot. A rebrand, is that the way to go? A brand new, just kind of, hit the reset button. Is that what TNA needs? I mean, you've kind of spent 10 years building a company, or more than that, 14 years, is it? They've been around, they've been around a while. You spent so long building this brand, building TNA, so to kind of scrap that completely and go in a completely different direction, that's a tough pill to swallow. But I think nearly they might have to do that. But look, Billy Corrigan as president, I've heard a lot of good things about the guy. I don't like his music, but, look, he could be something different that TNA needs. Dixie Carter as president, I think we can all agree wasn't the way to go. I think they needed someone else in there, fresh perspective, fresh ideas, a new direction. So Billy might be able to produce that, and he might be able to change things around a little bit. He's got a decent little roster there he can work with. There's still plenty of guys in the independents they could try and grab as well. Obviously, they brought in Moose not too long ago as well. He's not a bad name as well. So they've got some decent names down there. So there's no real reason why TNA can't continue to grow. I think they need a better network, obviously, but they're probably nowhere near that yet. So TNA, they're battling to survive, but they're hanging in there, and hopefully they can hang around for a little longer. We really need competition. WWE needs competition so badly. It would really improve the wrestling industry, and guys need the ability to be able to work elsewhere. If WWE is doing the dirty on them, treating them like shit, like Sandow, they need to be able to go somewhere else and actually have an impact, and no pun intended, but actually have the ability to make a difference somewhere else and do something somewhere else. So hopefully TNA can keep on hanging around, and maybe this is the change they need, a fresh perspective to put them in the right direction. Now, I'm not sure if this is storyline or if this is legitimate, but James Storm, there's been a little bit of talk around him. Is he leaving TNA? I think there's a bit of rumblings that it might be a storyline, so I'm not going to go full into detail. I will say if he's leaving TNA and he's heading back to NXT, that would be really, really good, but I'm not sure what's going on there, so probably next week we might hear more about that, and we'll cover that a little bit more in detail. So a little up in arms, if because I think he said on TNA that this is going to be his last match and he's sick of the management and he's going to be walking out. I don't know, but I think it's probably more storyline related, because I think Dixie Carter retweeted some of his shit that he wrote, so she wouldn't really retweet that if it was for real. So probably storyline, but wishful thinking anyways. WWE firing Joey Styles, so he's been working I think on WWE.com for a long time. I think Joey Styles is always underutilized in WWE. I think right now with a really poor announce team, I think he could have always helped out there and really helped to improve that, but unfortunately, maybe he didn't want to be an announcer anymore. That's probably a realistic, thing to say. But maybe he just didn't have a role in the WWE anymore. I think he might have said some things, and maybe they didn't like that. But yeah, so anyways, Joey Styles has been fired. You guys know the story anyways, but it is sad. I just thought I'd just give my 2 cents there. Undertaker was snapped taking a picture. A fan took a picture of Undertaker with Shane McMahon at a bar. Undertaker sporting the black hair again, so that always generally means he's gearing up for another comeback. I mean, it could happen, maybe. If he comes back, I'm sure it'll probably be on SmackDown. I always see Undertaker as a SmackDown guy. When he was on Raw, it just didn't feel right. So him on SmackDown, that's his home to me. I'm always envisioning SmackDown as Undertaker's home. So I hope he comes back. I don't know what the hell he's going to be doing, but who knows? He could be coming back. Maybe it's just he just has black hair. Maybe he just likes to dye it again. I don't fucking know. So we're all just speculating and hoping right now. So I guess we'll find out in the coming months. And finally, Big Show announcing he will be retiring next year. So we can all shed a tear for the Big Show. Going to be hanging up the boots. Great career for the Big Show, but I think he knows, and I think we all know that it's about time he goes away. But probably WrestleMania might be his last match with Shaq. I think that's generally confirmed at this point, isn't it? So that probably will happen. And so we'll see what goes on there. Will he have a big retirement match, or will he just walk away? I don't know. But next year, he'll be calling it quits. So that'll be interesting. We'll be interested to see what happens there. But that is the news this week. Lots going on, actually. Lots of big events happening. Plenty of news to chat about. So plenty happening in this week in wrestling. Over last week, I think nothing happened in wrestling last week. So it's good to actually have a week where there's something to talk about. We have some questions, and we will still get into your questions before getting on out of here. So let's get straight into them, right? All right, so this first question comes from Jamie Finch. What do you think of Jon Stewart being a special guest at SummerSlam? I don't think he'll have a role that he did like last time, but I think, look, Stewart's a WWE fan, I think, so I think they just like having some names there, and he's a good name to have, and he might just do a bit of a backstage skip, maybe have an interaction with Seth Rollins again, but I don't think he'll do all that much, so I don't think it's really that big of a deal, but yeah, sure, why not? This one's from Carl Fitzpatrick. Do you think Big Show should be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and after his retirement, do you think he'll still be associated with WWE and associated with WWE in non-wrestling roles? Absolutely, he'll be inducted in the Hall of Fame. 20-plus year career, multiple-time world champion, was a top guy in WCW, was a top guy in WWE, top guy during the Attitude Era. So he's had a really good career. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of us kind of think about his last probably 10 years, but you got to remember the first 5 or so years in his career. Remember he beat Hulk Hogan, in his first match in WCW. So, yeah, I mean, look, he's done it all. He's had a really good career, and yes, his last few years have been pretty shitty, but he's certainly had a lot of great moments and done a lot of great things. So, without a doubt, he's a pretty comfortable Hall of Famer, let's be honest. And do I think he'll stick around with WWE? I could see him being an ambassador for WWE still. I don't see him being a trainer or anything like that, but I could see him still kind of doing a few appearances and things like that as an ambassador for WWE. And I don't think he'll go on the road as much, but I still think he might make some appearances and things like that. This one's from Cameron Fox. What do you think of No Man's Sky? I talked about it a little bit last week. I haven't played too much more of it, but really, last week, we heard all the reviews. Basically, the general consensus is it's about a 6, 7 out of 10, and that's probably a fair point. It's pretty much, you go to a planet, you grind and repeat, and just travel around, and it's a bit of a grindy type of game. There's no real storyline and no real direction. You have to kind of find your own way, which is a good thing. It's a nice change, but in saying that, there really isn't a lot to do that will keep you going for a long time. Yes, you keep getting resources to upgrade your ship, upgrade your suit, but the novelty wears off pretty quickly. So I was enjoying it for a while, but I feel like it's not a game that I would recommend to anyone. And I feel like it's a game that I think most people will probably play for an hour or two and really get bored of it and be done with it. So I don't think it's that great of a game. And honestly, I wasn't going to buy it. I didn't end up buying it. My friend got it for me, but I was not looking forward to it at all. So it wasn't even a game that I wanted to have. It wasn't a game on my radar, so I'm not really surprised that it turned out this way. This one's from Oakley Tiger. What current NXTers do you think will find success on the main roster, and when? I think you'll find that the bigger names at NXT, Aries, Rude, Joe, Nakamura, Bayley, Asuka, will all have plenty of success. I think some tag teams such as Gargano and Ciampa, I think will go pretty good. The Revival will go okay. So I think most of the guys you see right now on top will go pretty good. And I don't think we'll see too many people coming up to the main roster for at least another 6 months. I think we were kind of had a lot of new characters come to the show already. Certainly on SmackDown, you got Bliss, Mojo Rawley, Carmella. We got Nia Jax on Raw, for example, Finn Balor. So they have a lot of new characters already. Jinder Mahal coming back, Kurt Hawkins as well. So there really isn't much room to kind of take on too many more. Otherwise, it'd be just too congested. So I think it's a smart idea to keep them prospering in NXT. I wouldn't mind another tag team. Like I said, the Revival coming up. I think that's probably nearly a must to bring them up for SmackDown. They really need a heel team there, so I wouldn't mind having them come up and do good there. But so I wouldn't be bringing up too many more. Maybe Bayley as well, but that would probably be a couple more names, but that's it. Just for perhaps the next 6 months to a year. This one's from ZX Joshua. Can you discuss your opinion on WCPW? A lot of people want to know my opinion on this. Honestly, I have checked out a couple of clips, and I haven't really cared too much. To me, it's just another independent show. It's not really going to revolutionize wrestling. The difference is it's an independent show that is available on a YouTube channel that has a good following. So they have a bit of money behind it, so they can bring in names. A lot of people, it just baffles me. A lot of people are thinking that, like, oh, Damien Sandow, he can't go to TNA because he's signed with WCPW. A lot of people don't understand the difference between, a one-night deal to a full-on written exclusive contract. I don't think there's a single wrestler exclusive with WCPW. If they were, they're idiots, because I feel like it's a bit of a fad that will be around for a few months and kind of die off a bit. I don't think it's going to be the next big thing, and I don't see the money coming in and keeping that company around for all that long, because I don't see it really growing into much bigger than what it is right now. It's certainly an independent show, and there's a lot of marks that come in and kind of start stupid shit in the crowd, and there's been a lot of criticism there. So I think they have a big show coming up, or they've already had a big show, so maybe I will check out their big event, see what happened there. But honestly, look, if you like wrestling, there's another wrestling show for you to watch, but to me, I don't think it's all that much to get too excited about. It's just another generic independent show. I don't really think it sets apart too much from the rest, but that's just my opinion, and I'm not a big fan of What Culture. I don't watch any of their videos, so maybe I just don't care for it at all. I haven't really got into the people who work at What Culture, so I don't really care if they make a wrestling show. So to me, I have no interest in it. This one's from Roy the Boy. Do you get the feeling that WWE wastes a lot of Lesnar's dates, and are you getting tired of the Unbeatable Beast gimmick? I think they definitely do waste a lot of his dates. I think he was good this week on the mic. I found it hilarious when he said, "I don't give a shit about your kids." I thought that was hilarious. So that was a nice change to actually see Brock Lesnar, hear him talk. And when he comes and does something significant, like beat up someone or make a statement, send a bit of a message, do something significant other than stand next to Paul Heyman and look tough, that's when, when he stands there and does nothing, that's a waste. But when he does something significant, fair enough. Bring him in for that. So I think, obviously, the SmackDown interference, they could have done a little bit more with that to make that appearance a little bit more worthwhile, but they got what they wanted out of that angle and created the tension between the two for the feud. So they got a lot what they wanted out of that, so that was okay. But they definitely do waste a lot of his appearances. Am I tired of the gimmick? I wouldn't say I'm tired of the gimmick. I still think there's going to come a time where he has to be beaten, and it's going to be, a matter of who's going to do it. I'm not sure who will do it. I mean, if you could believe anyone could do it, Randy Orton would be a good choice. I think there's really no one else other than perhaps Roman Reigns that you could believe that will do it, other than probably John Cena as well, of course. So there's really only a select few guys that you could honestly believe will beat Brock Lesnar. So I'm not tired of the gimmick, but I feel like they wouldn't surprise me in the next 6 months more and more people start to criticize Lesnar and start wanting a bit of a change from him. And finally, today, our last question is going to be a pretty simple one. MLG Pro, Mr. MLG Pro, what's your favorite color? My favorite color is red. You guys obviously go on my channel, red, black, and white are my three colors. So the three colors of my favorite footy team, so I've always adapted those colors. Three colors that I like to have most of my things, red, black, or white. If I can, all the same combinations. So red and black always looks good. So red, black, and white, even better. So definitely red. Probably when I was younger, I would have said blue for a while there, but definitely right now, and I think forever, it probably would be red. I like red a lot. I don't wear any red t-shirts though. I used to wear a bit of red t-shirts, but generally not so much anymore. I do like blue shirts, as you guys will see in my vlog over the last few days. But I don't really like wearing red t-shirts, but definitely red. Like my mouse is red, my computer, it's red, my PS4 controller's red. So I have a lot of red stuff, so definitely red So that will do it for this week's edition of the LTT Podcast. If you guys did enjoy it, please do support the podcast by leaving a like on the YouTube video. Share the show around to all of your friends. It was a long one today, I know, but hopefully you guys got all of your goodness for your SummerSlam, your NXT TakeOver, and all the rest. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We covered a lot, so I thought the show was pretty good. And, of course, share the show around. If you can, download the show on iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. That's the best place to listen to the show, wherever you want to go. If you're on the go, iTunes, obviously, get that on the podcast apps, wherever you may be, and that will work out really, really well for you. And so next week we'll have all the fallout for SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver. We'll discuss it all, and it's going to be a big, big weekend of wrestling. So gear up, get your snacks ready. It's going to be a good one, and it should be a lot of fun. So next week's show will be a big one, probably again discussing all of the fallout from the two big events. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's edition of the podcast, and I will see you all next week.